Okay. Good evening and welcome to the South Burlington Development Review Board for February 18th, 2026. My name is Dawn Philibert. I'm the chair of the board and we have a small group tonight and I'm going to introduce them to you. To my left is Charlie Johnston and
Every time.
I know.
She does know me.
I do. Jody Lesko, and online we have Quinn Mann. That's the four members of the board who are here tonight. And to my right are our staff, Marla Keene and Alex Levin. This meeting is being recorded. So let's start with the agenda. Actually, let's end with the agenda too. But following the agenda, the first item is the emergency evacuation procedures. There are doors in each corner of the auditorium in the back. In the event of an emergency, you would simply exit those doors and go either left or right, and you would be outside. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda items? Okay. Any announcements or reminders? Okay. Any comments and questions from the public that are not related to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to discussing the projects on our agenda. The first project is site plan application SP2604 of Beta Technologies, Inc. to amend a previously approved plan for general commercial use. The amendment consists of 2,338 square feet building and accessory building expansion, reconfiguring the site to face Valley Road, and changing the use to child care facility at 5 Calkins Ct. Who is here for the applicant?
Alex Gagnon with Beta Technologies.
Hi, Alex.
And Chris Gendron with Stantec.
Anyone else online? Or?
I see that Joel is online. Do you want me to unmute him for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Just a moment, Joel.
What is your last name? Okay. And someone's online? I see a hand raised.
Yep, we're just waiting for him to unmute. He's good.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Hi, good evening. This is Joel Page with Scott & Partners Architects. We're the project architects for the building.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to swear you in. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear? Pardon? No, it's not sketch, it's site. Yeah. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Under penalty of perjury.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So as you know, what we do is we go through the staff report and we focus on those items that are highlighted in the report by staff. And you've seen the report, so you probably have a response to everything already. But we'll just proceed and go through the report as we do.
Could we have just a brief background on?
Sure, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Because we obviously saw you recently for a very similar
For a
application.
child care project,
right,
yeah.
right. I
Or in a
remember
different
talking about
location.
parking.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
happy
So
to.
give us a little
happy to talk
overview
you
of
through it.
why you're back.
Yeah,
please.
for a child care project
And-
just next door to the other
Yeah,
one we
and
were
in
talking
your
about.
background, could you maybe explain to us why you think this might not require an amendment to the master plan to include this application?
Yeah, let's talk through it. I might let you help out with that one, Chris. But yeah, so just a brief intro to the project. This is, it's been a long-term goal of Beta, as we talked about last time, to start a child care facility for our employees. We think it's a really important piece of the puzzle as we're growing our business here and, trying not to contribute to what is a child care shortage here in Vermont. And so this is our Beta stab at trying to alleviate some of the shortage issues that we're seeing around the state and in the area.
Is your microphone on?
Yeah, is that?
Bring it
Can you
a
hear
little
me?
closer,
Sorry.
please.
Yep. So this site we were able to acquire this site right next to our main campus just a couple of months ago. Actually, I think it was a month ago now. We feel like it's a much better site for childcare. The previous site that we had looked at that was on our campus and part of the master plan. It was great. It was like a sort of a lovely entryway into our campus, and we thought it was going to be a great fit. When this site popped up for sale, we sort of grabbed onto it, and as you're looking at the site, it's sort of tucked into the woods. It's a little bit farther off the beaten path, and so we felt like it was just a better location for a childcare facility, and so that's why we have this in front of you here today, and we're going to sort of rethink what we did with that other lot that we have on the main campus. And then, do you want to speak to the master plan amendment question, or?
Yeah, we can definitely speak to that. I think the way that we look at this project is that it's actually owned. This property is now owned by
Is your
Beta.
microphone on?
Yeah, sorry. The property is actually owned by. Just to clarify, that property is owned by Beta. The property that the airport is owned by BTV. So that's one thing. It's two separate ownerships. And this project actually could stand alone. Anyone could come in here and use this daycare.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Could you bring the microphone closer to you so we can hear you and the
I
recording?
need to stretch it out.
Okay, thanks.
So the other piece is it could be a childcare for just about anybody. It doesn't need to be for Beta. Anyone could take it. So we've looked at it through that lens.
Okay,
And sorry, before we continue,
sure.
there is obviously another site plan application after this. Is this a standalone application that does not require modifications to the master plan?
At this point, no, there doesn't need to be any modifications to the master plan.
So I could,
Or there
I
isn't going to
could
be
put
any
my blinders
modifications.
on and say, I don't know anything about the master plan and just review this site plan application.
It could act complete, like the master plan doesn't even have to happen and this project could happen, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Okay.
It could happen today. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or any other comments? Let's proceed. The first question, this is about an existing non-conforming structure and the setback and the need to configure. Staff recommends the board require the applicant to reconfigure the proposed expansion so as not to increase the degree of existing non-conformity of the site.
Yeah, so what happened is it used to be a side setback and then Marla brought it to our attention. It's actually become a front setback because of where the primary entrance has moved to. Mm-hmm. So we've since updated that to a front setback of 30 feet. And what that did is some of our building that we had originally designed and you've seen in your packet can't be where it needs to be. So we've provided some updated materials that pull the building outside of that front setback.
Okay, and you have all
And if you want to visualize that, should be on page 2 of the latest stuff we sent today.
Sorry, we're just going to switch to that display instead.
Yep.
Does you need to do a different share? Did you share your screen or the window?
Bear with us. We're trying to pull this up. Okay, thanks, Alex.
So our original design actually did cross over. We had the front, if you look at the top right, we had our building kind of protruding into the 30-foot setback a little bit, so we pulled it back, including the overhang too.
So then the primary access will be onto Valley.
Yep.
Okay.
So the setback line is, can you just walk through what we're seeing here?
Yeah, if you, how can I direct you to this? At the top of the page, it says 30-foot setback, like right in the top middle of the page. That's the 30-foot front setback, and the property line is obviously 30 feet to the right of that. And the existing building is obviously within that, but that is a nonconformity. We're just not making it that nonconformity worse.
So the second comment by the staff, does that take care of that? Does what you're proposing take care of that?
We believe it does, yeah.
Okay.
So the second comment is about a computation that's required. Only a portion of the front setback can be covered with driveways and parking. In the applicant's original application, we thought it appeared that they incorrectly calculated that. So regardless of this change, it still needs to be updated because I don't think they were counting this side as the front. But it's more an exercise in math than a design issue.
I'm sorry, I thought you were referring to the second part of the first question, but if you are talking about the second question.
Maybe.
Right, number 2.
Number 2, I'm sorry, I misheard you. That we did calculate and we did check it. It's 23.6% below the 30%. And I did provide a little diagram, but it's essentially the area within the setback and take out all the impervious, see how much impervious is in there. And if that's below 30%, we're good.
And Chris, that's just on the portion of the front setback consisting of driveways and parking.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so the next issue is the orientation to Calkins Court. Let me read you the summary. Staff recommends the board direct the applicant to make minor improvements to provide visual indicators of a front side of the building, such as a walkway to the nearest pedestrian door lined with landscaping and a pedestrian gate or other improvements as recommended by the project landscape architect so that the effect is no less oriented to Calkins Court than it is today.
There's a few things we want to talk about. One is, Alex, if you could go to page 10 of the packet that we provided earlier today. So what you're seeing here is if you look at the building today, that is the front entry, if you will. And if you look at the picture tomorrow, one thing we're striving to do is actually try to improve it from all sides, including the Calkins Court side. And we feel that we've accomplished that. What you're looking at there is a greenhouse. But one thing that's still important to them is that that is a childcare area that's supposed to be somewhat secure. So we didn't want to, bring a path right into there that's open to the public. So we wanted to keep that secure, but also one thing that we, did to add some connectivity and to Calkins Court to make it look like the front is we provided a path from Calkins Court over to that door that you can see on the far right of the screen. And then also it connects to that sidewalk that we're proposing that's on the east side of the building. So we're hoping that satisfies that requirement to.
Can you show that on a plan?
Yeah, please go to page 2 again.
So that greenhouse area is a play area?
The whole area within the fence is a play area.
Okay.
The greenhouse is a place for the kids to engage with planting and learning how to garden.
Okay.
But if you see that dash line, that's a path that brings you over to the side entry and the sidewalk along Valley that we're proposing.
What's the proposed surface treatment for that path?
We were thinking wood chips for that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Wood chips is what we were thinking of, a wood chip pathway through there.
Okay, any questions?
Can I ask maybe a dumb question at this point, right? But the existing building's being demolished and this is a brand new building? Or are you
No.
retrofitting?
It's a pretty good retrofit of the existing building. Yep. But you can see like the framing and everything, the slab are going to remain.
Charlie, I had asked Joel the same question and he explained it in a way that made sense to me if you wanted more explanation.
No, I'm thinking this through, right? Like, I think it's a interesting idea of taking advantage of the fact that there's like a road or access drive, however you want to define Valley Road, right? Right there, and you're taking advantage of that. But forcing this to also look like it's fronting on Calkins, I don't know. In my mind, putting the curb in there, you've cut off any vehicular traffic, right? There's no need for sidewalks on this because it's an industrial road. Almost feel like because of what its purpose is it going to be, you want to put in plantings there to block the view of the back of this building.
Well, the staff report's responding to the particular standard here.
Yep. And I totally get that, right? It originally was fronting on Calkins, right?
Mhm.
But now the applicant's taking advantage of that there's a road there. They're going to front on that road.
And I think we would be having the same comment if it were a totally new building on a through lot. We would say, you know, like if you remember, for
Right.
some of the golf course applications, we said the back of the building needs to have a primary entrance as well as the other side. It's not like the primary entrance, but to not look like entirely the back. And that's kind of why we use that language of like minor improvements and provide some visual indicators of a front side, not to supersede the actual main entrance, but to have some street presence.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Number 4, this is about pedestrian connectivity. I'm going to read this. As discussed above, the applicant is proposing to turn the building away from Calkins Court and remove the driveway to Calkins Court within the property. In considering B above, staff recommends the board also discuss whether a continued pedestrian connection to Calkins Court to facilitate pedestrian connectivity through the neighborhood would improve compliance with that criterion and result in this criterion being met.
Yeah, and so that's that additional pathway that we added there. We wanted, and part of why we didn't want to make that sort of a hard surface there was just to not invite too many people to be walking right up against the childcare facility, but still sort of accomplish that through option.
Do we feel that that does the trick? Quinn, feel free to chime in whenever you need to.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm following along here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Number 5. My notes didn't carry over. Staff considers the board must direct the applicant to remove the head-in parking and replace it with parallel parking or no parking. If the applicant revises the plan to provide compliant parallel parking, staff considers this should be treated as on-street parking, not subject to this criterion. Head-in parking, not considered on-street parking, fails to meet this criterion. What are my comments?
If you're having deja vu, it's not,
Yeah.
it's fine. We had the same feeling. And I think it's similar to our prior application, but the street today is covered in, all of Valley Road has pull-in parking or perpendicular
I'm sorry,
parking.
you're going to have to speak up.
All of Valley Road has pull-in parking or perpendicular parking today. And with picking up and dropping off your kid, it just makes a heck of a lot more sense to be able to pull in, get out, rather than getting out on the side of the road where cars are driving by. And we think this makes a lot more sense to do it this way than have it be parallel. So that's our take on that, but welcome any additional input on that. And Alex, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, I
Thoughts?
think you got it.
Is this something we can? Well, I guess this triggers a question for. Sorry. This triggers the next site plan question, right? You know, if this becomes a 2-lane road.
Yeah. Which we're not in favor of in general.
Well, that's a different question, but is this a requirement that can be waived, right, or conditioned away?
Well, so parking to the front of a building is specifically listed as a criteria the board cannot waive, the prohibition on parking to the front of a building. I think this is a slightly different situation than when you reviewed it at the other location, because it wasn't so much parking in the front of a building there, it was parking on the street. Right, whereas this is parking to serve this building specifically in front of this building. So we, as staff, including DPW, felt more strongly about this parking even than we did about the one on Da Vinci Drive, and we felt pretty strongly about that one in the first instance.
So you're saying we actually don't have authority to waive it, so we need to come to another solution.
We can't waive that they need parking.
Okay.
So where do we go with this?
So there's no minimum parking requirement, and you can see from this plan that there is other parking available. There's some allowed parking as enumerated above. You know, there's parking that is allowable for ADA purposes in front of buildings. So that would be one of those spaces. I don't really see a path forward for the other.
Did you look at other options for where to place parking?
You know, we were just thinking logically from grading standpoint, from a place where you can just get out and get your kid inside and have these kind of be quick turnaround spaces that you don't have to cross any roads and you can and get in there. The only other option we would have is people park in the parking lot and walk their kid over, or park nearby and cross the road and get their children inside. That it was really just this made sense to us, just due to proximity.
Again, if I was to put my blinders on, right, and let's pretend the next application didn't exist, the entrance to Valley Road to Williston Road is going to be discontinued. So then this is a dead end street that's going to be partially ripped up, right? I think the building across from this is supposed to be demolished, right?
Yeah, it essentially turns into a parking bay at some point. It's almost a parking aisle after.
Chris, I'm going to have to ask you to speak up, please.
Sorry.
Pull the microphone closer to you.
It's 2 inches below my mouth.
Like you're eating an ice cream.
I know.
Thank you.
The power.
Wow.
Whoa, okay.
I think that worked.
It's good. It's good.
That's good.
Thank you.
You know, I could get behind this, right? But I think this is going to greatly influence future development on this road, is what I would say.
So are we asking the applicant to do anything?
So let me game out what Charlie's saying here. He's asking about the approved master plan for the adjoining site. And what I recall is, Alex, if I could kind of puppeteer your cursor a little bit, if you could move your cursor up, Alex, up above where you are and to the right there. I believe, maybe even up a little bit more. I believe the throat of that parking bay is where the existing road pavement will end under the approved master plan, and below that won't be any pavement at all.
It goes down a few more bays, and there's actually a bay of, if I recall, there's a bay of parking that's proposed. Another bay of parking proposed over down further.
Yeah, you sort of get that same sweep that you
But
have.
there's another sweep right where your
Right.
cursor is.
Like parallel to the one that's shown on this sheet, like below it on the page.
Yeah, that would be the final addition to this parking lot that we show in the master plan.
Okay.
And then it actually,
So
there's
this would
another
almost
road
be
that
the end of that.
But it never dead ends. I think it loops back around. If I
Right, it
recall.
loops back
Yeah.
around to and then goes into Da Vinci Drive.
Yep.
My point is, like, it's not going to be like a open 2-lane road where you've got traffic, and I could see it's easier to back up into the drive. I'm going to call it, not street, right? Rather than there's cars moving at, I don't know, I forget what the speed was you guys had on the last application, 25 miles per hour, right? Which is the point of not having head-in parking, is it's difficult to see, difficult with traffic maneuvers occurring behind you.
Right.
So blinders on, approve this application, then I go into a different application, might not approve it, is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, so I thought you were headed the opposite direction, actually. Because if in the master plan, this is approved to be a bay of parking and not a road, then it's not head-in parking on a road.
Oh, exactly. Sure, that too, yep. I'm just realizing for the next site application, I think they're trying
No, I mean, it will be two-way, but it won't be Oh, no, at this point, tonight we're not.
They're trying to
We're
create a
getting-
2-lane road all the way through to Da Vinci Drive, right? That's
shouldn't-
why I was like,
which
I know.
yeah, I mean, we'll get
blinders
there
on,
when
they
we get to it,
right,
but
right,
that's,
if I approve this and I go into the next application, I might say, well,
I will note that we are not turning this into a two-way street. We're going to keep it one way.
Okay.
okay.
Side
then-
note.
Okay, then I'm fine with, I guess,
Okay.
head and drive, because then the vehicle movement behind that
Will be
slower and less.
in one way.
Yeah, and you're only having to look one way.
But we don't have the authority to approve that? Because it would be off-street parking, this head-in?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understand. Quinn?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought Charlie was saying potentially approving the head-in parking, and I thought the discussion was that we do not have the authority to do that given the restrictions of the LDRs for parking in front of the building.
Is this considered in front of the park building?
Alex, can you pan up a bit, please? So you can see the property line goes through those parking spaces. It's the black line that kind of cuts. So it's parking to the front, new parking to the front of the building is specifically prohibited in the LDR. Not allowed,
run into
which is
this.
a subtly different statement than specifically prohibited, is parking on a street. I can see the argument that you're making that it's not really a street if it dead ends there. It's more like a parking area that's accessed via Valley Road. But then the 2/3 of the parking that's on 5 Calkins Court, this property that we're talking about now,
I guess I was looking at the future. There's a master plan in place that will this will no longer be a private road, right? This is going to be access to parking.
mm-hmm.
So if I was to consider that you build out the full master plan and this at the same time, I guess there's some overlap where this is an actual road and then there's a transition to access to other parking bays, right?
I've sort of moved on from the road in my mind, though, and I'm thinking just about the fact that the parking is serving the building and it is to the front of the building, which is the thing that the board's prohibited from waiving.
It's disallowed on a public, no, sorry, you're right. It's disallowed on a road. 1 minute. Head-in parking is, where is the standard?
Yeah, it's sort of a funny thing here. Like, I think what we were trying to achieve by keeping the parking sort of down on the page was not having it be right in the front entryway. So although it's sort of on that, what I would say is the front, you could call it the front elevation, we've tried to orient the front entryway sort of off to that corner. And so that we were sort of trying to keep it to what could maybe be considered the side of the building.
Yeah, the side, it's specifically defined.
Okay, yeah.
I appreciate where you're coming from, but it's specifically defined as the front relative to the front property line, between the front property line and the front of the building.
Gotcha.
It's the front of the building. I mean, I suppose theoretically, I can see on this plan space for like 3 parking spaces to the side of the building that are still in the same orientation, but they would have to be shifted down and to the left so that they were behind the front line of the building.
Is that possible?
You can do 4, one accessible spot in front of the building, 4 next to it.
I use an Apple Pen and all my comments have disappeared.
Yeah, slide it out, slide it out.
Yes.
Sorry, a little sidebar there.
I think Yeah, we understand, this has taken so many twists and turns because we thought this was the side of the building and then it became the front of the building, and now we understand where you're coming from. And I like that suggestion of, we'll probably put that third spot up would be the accessible space, and then try to fit in as many spaces as we can to the side of the building below it, if that is amenable.
So you'll come back to us with a redesign?
Yeah,
There's the other thing too. The other thing we could do too is we could, if there's a condition, just remove the parking and just put in a curb. That's something we could do, and then we could work with Marla. We could work with Marla and their team to come up with like an amendment to incorporate the parking at a later date.
So with that in mind, why didn't you get through everything for both this and the other one? Why don't you, before you close this one for tonight, open the other one, discuss the other one, and then make a decision on whether to continue or close?
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, moving on. I'm having some trouble with my... Number 6, by turning away from Calkins Court, staff considers this criterion to not be addressed, and as discussed above, recommends the board require the applicant to make sure minor modifications.
That's not what that says.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Number 6, right?
Yep.
Above, recommends the board require the applicant to make such minor modifications, as will prevent the building from appearing to be specifically facing away from Calkins Court.
So that kind of speaks to what I was trying to say earlier.
Right.
We're not looking for it to be a grand entrance on Calkins Court,
Right.
but just not face totally away from.
Right.
And so that's
The wood chip path, right?
If you felt like the board, if the board felt like that was addressed, that's your call to make.
I think we do, yeah. Do you disagree, Quinn and Charlie? Are you okay? Okay. Okay, number 7. The applicant has indicated I'm sorry, I use an Apple pen and I make notes all over on my computer. They disappeared, so, and I just looked at this a couple of hours ago, but this is a long one. The applicant has indicated the enclosed area will not be used for storage these are the options for, this is a playground structure, correct? The stairs and the ramp?
Yeah, exactly. The top left, a portion of that is just a playground structure. It's seating, and you can actually, I think it's supposed to be a little sledding hill if they want to, but multi-purpose is that outdoor storage, which we have now considered building space and calculated that I can't remember which recommendation it was, but one of the recommendations said, yeah, just classify that as building space, and that's what we did.
For storage?
For storage, yep.
Okay, so we're good on that.
So here we were talking about the rest of it that isn't shaded pink.
Yeah, and that is just, no one can go under it, no one can go in it. There's no
And we're not going to
storage
have
in
an
it.
enforcement issue later on.
No.
Because that's what we're trying to circumvent here, right? Is all of a sudden you decide, wow, that could be a really cool play tunnel or something. And then it's a structure for the enclosure of people, and then it's a building, and then...
Yeah, no, we have no intent to.
Okay.
Yeah, of using that space.
Light
Gets
tunnel.
pretty low over there.
All right, number 8, staff recommends the board consider waiving the requirement for construction of a rec path.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that. Quinn, Charlie? Okay, good. 9. This is the slope. Staff recommends the board ask the applicant to clarify what work is proposed in this location. The project does not qualify as restricted infrastructure encroachment, therefore development is prohibited. If the proposed work does not meet the definition of development, staff considers the board may permit the proposed work with a condition defining the type of work allowed. What are your thoughts? And then it goes on to offer some options.
So if you look on, page 3, the landscape plan,
Sure.
we have actually amended the label on this area slightly to be very clear that no regrading is intended. There's snow on this slope currently, but our understanding from those who saw it before it snowed is that it's essentially an urban fill condition. So it's gravel that was just kind of dump trucked down, right? There appear to be, chunks of concrete in it, just sort of like non-friendly things that have allowed for growth of invasive species. So what we are proposing essentially is just to do a surface treatment. So, nothing that sort of violates the, actual grade of the slope. It's a little bit of a, it's a long con getting rid of invasive species in a condition like this, but the thought would be there would essentially be cutting, not even necessarily pulling. Things like buckthorn and honeysuckle, you can cut and cut and cut and cut, but eventually, there's sort of a war of attrition that happens. So the intent is only to remove essentially detritus from the surface of that gravel fill. And attempt to, maybe blow in some conservation mix to fill bare patches, to do sort of very kind of light touch cleaning up of that, with the understanding that restoring it is kind of not in the cards, but we can try to kind of push it in the right direction over time.
Okay, thank you. Does that work, board?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. So this is on a brownfield site, and the phase 2 says that the soil gas parameter, one exceedance of the soil gas standards. What is the remediation that's going to occur on the site, and what would that look like in that area?
I am not aware of the brownfield classification. Anybody?
Didn't see that in the report.
Yeah, it says that phase 2 was done in January 2026, probably for the purchase of the property.
Interesting.
There is some under slab contaminants which will be addressed through a sort of like a radon mitigation system that will be put interior to the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Joel, does that mean that no testing was done on the landscaped slope just under or around the building?
Just as far as I know, just in the building area itself. Yeah. But I could be wrong.
Comment that the staff provided, right? The remediation of urban fill, right? So that's where I looked at the state website, and this is a brownfield site.
Yeah.
And then, I looked it up, and you did a phase 2. It says there's contaminants that exceed the standard.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Oh, understood. Yeah,
Remediation.
and that's top of mind for us. Joel's correct. It was just that we're installing a vapor mitigation system within the building. They were doing some painting or something in the building, so it was a fairly low level. But with kids being in there, we're gonna install that system.
Right. So it was in one little corner of the building. We'll be putting down a complete separation barrier between the existing concrete slab and the finishes on the floor.
I guess my question was, outside the building, we have no concerns, right? There wouldn't need to be a additional geotextile layer or some kind of underground
essentially.
Yeah, no, it was the landscaping remediation, not a full-on remediation.
Okay.
Like nothing that came out of the phase 1 or phase. I reviewed the phase 1. I didn't review the phase 2, but the phase 1 didn't have anything.
Yeah, no, yeah, and it really is just like sort of concrete that was sort of dumped on that hill that we're trying to deal with here.
Okay, thank you. Number 10, steep slopes. Have we covered this already? Does that take? Okay. Project also proposes impacts to steep slopes by constructing a unit block retaining wall, installing a sidewalk, and planting an arborvitae hedge. The applicant must submit a slope stability analysis. I love that term. And incorporate the recommendation of the slope stability analysis into their development plan. Since the applicable standards also require avoiding undue adverse effects, and it's now possible to ascertain whether the impacts will be undue or adverse prior to submission of a slope stability analysis, staff recommends the board require the analysis to be submitted prior to closing the hearing.
A few things. One, the wall was removed. We were able to take the wall out and replace that with a stabilized 2-on-1 slope that will be installed in 6-inch lifts, compacted in accordance with the Public Works or the land development regulations for stabilizing a slope. And that's what we're proposing. We don't, we didn't, this is pretty normal engineering practice or construction practice. We didn't think that a slope stability analysis would be required in this situation. The slope that we're actually impacting is the part that's actually the part of the slope that's actually above that threshold, the 15 to 25%, is only 2 feet tall. The rest of it is all below 15%. So when we're looking at that, we didn't consider it to actually the area that we're installing the slope on, and this might have changed when we had the retaining wall. But now we don't actually think we are impacting a steep slope for the definition of the LDRs.
So what do we need to prove that, Marla?
So I think I intentionally left my little markups in the PDF of the site plan in the packet. So if we go to,
It's up by where is along the sidewalk, the retaining wall is going to be. So they have a
Right.
slope there now, right?
Right.
A little bit further to the north.
and I think that in the packet, not the handout, Alex, but the packet itself, please. I left little call outs on the landscaping plan that indicated where there was steep slope. Yeah. It is packet page 36. So the reason I'm asking him to call this up is because I kind of indicated where the steep slope was,
Okay.
so we can just see at a glance as to whether you're in it or not.
Yep. I forgot to mention also, everything is pitching away from that slope, so all stormwater that lands there drains towards the road. We did that intentionally to also try to avoid any erosion issues.
Yeah, so both of those areas where I had the little measurements qualified as steep slope areas. So are you now not grading in those areas?
We are essentially not grading in the area to the south. It basically beta determined that the grade of that sidewalk could exceed 5%, that it did not have to adhere to accessibility standards given the users. So the sidewalk grade that we're proposing now largely follows the slope from south to north, the existing slope. And then there's an area of fill, say about a third, 3/5 of the way north, because we sort of need to level out to connect to the sidewalk above. So without an overlay, it's hard to prove this, but the call out to the south, I think, is no longer being regraded. Essentially, we're building a sidewalk on existing grades. And as to whether there's a little bit of fill overlap on the area to the north, I think we'd have to do a quick overlay to make that clear.
But under the new design, we did pull the sidewalk in quite a bit.
Yes, toward the curb line.
Okay.
So the regulations as they pertain to steep slopes are not that you can't impact them, but that you need to mitigate the impacts in a way appropriate for the soils of that in that condition. So I guess I would just want to confirm that they are in fact staying out of the steep slopes, and if not, have them provide, a geotechnical recommendation for how to mitigate the impacts.
Is that something you can do? Go ahead,
I mean,
Charlie.
I would recommend we just go back to the other plan real quick. So I heard is that on the western slopes, we're not doing any work on those. And then on the northeastern slope where the sidewalk comes in, you pulled the sidewalk in, and that you're flattening the slope to provide additional stability.
About half the way up the sidewalk, yes. Yep. So, where we have the contour stacking from page, up to down,
And
that
we're
is a fill, yeah.
and we're outside. If you can see that, it's hard to without flipping back and forth, but
Yeah.
we are outside of that area that Marla just showed. That was the steep slope. It's really it's under 15% for the majority of that area. There's a small section that, like I said, 2 feet tall, that is between 15 is at 15%.
And you went to a 2-on-1 slope?
Yeah.
You didn't want to do a 3-on-1 slope?
One thing that we were really careful about is there's some really beautiful oaks in those woods. They're like giant, beautiful trees, and we just didn't want to get too close to those. Hence the 2-on-1 slope.
We appreciate that.
But we'll do everything that is required of us in accordance with the LDRs. They spell out exactly how to stabilize a slope. That's and they specify no more than 2-on-1. Use temporary erosion matting. We're going to do everything that is required on that slope to stabilize it.
Thank you. Do we need to get that in writing or something? Or will you put it in? Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
And
Are-
so what you're saying is you're following the DPW specifications.
Well, there's the DPW specifications and there's the LDRs that have a section on slope stabilization. I think it's section 16.04E for side slopes.
Oh, yeah. We almost never reference
You don't
that.
have them memorized?
We don't
Marla?
usually reference Article 16.
Okay, thank you. Number 11, as noted above, the applicant has indicated a proposal to remediate urban fill and invasive plants. I think we've covered this.
Yeah, the request was just to delineate the areas that we intend to do that. So on this revised page 3 plan,
Can you
we
show
have
that?
a dash. Yeah.
Just pan to the left, please.
And the location of the dash line is sort of very literally following the condition that appears to have come out of the back of a dump truck, So, I mean, there's no certainty that we would have to go that far down to sort of clean up. Also, if there's sensitivity about going into the habitat block, which I'm sure staff can tell us about, that may not be strictly speaking necessary either, but the stuff that we know is not natural is sort of defined by that dashed line.
All right. Ready to move on? Number 12, this is about Class 2 wetland delineation. We need you to do that, please. Hello?
A few questions about that.
Yeah.
So we did a field delineation north of here. This area, we do not have a field delineation for. We cannot do a field delineation in this area till April. But that's not the biggest piece of this. What I want to bring up is that the work that we're proposing, that is impervious area, building area, fill, you name it, anything that's not essentially an allowed use, we're doing nowhere near what you consider a wetland. It's all within the area that's industrialized right now. That's where we're doing most of that work, and everything else is cleanup. We're planting seed, we're getting rid of the concrete, we're doing everything that's under the allowed use criteria according to the state. So we feel that we could use a desktop delineation, which is what you see on your screen right now, to do the work that we're proposing, and that a full Class 2 wetland delineation for the work that we're doing now is not required. But I would listen to the board and get your input on how you feel, knowing that the work that we're doing is very non-intrusive, limited, doesn't include any real development as far as like impervious surfaces. We're actually cleaning it up. Then like right now, it's going to be better than what it is now when we're done with this. So we're improving wetlands, which is an allowed use.
Okay. What do you think, board? And staff, I welcome your input.
I think this is a great instance where Chris has asked a very incisive question that is really the board's authority to decide. I can see Quinn's wheels turning now.
Yeah, just is that, this standard we're looking at is kind of deferring to the state wetlands program in a way, and saying that we can use their same delineation. So is this consultation you've had with the state's program to kind of confirm their read of this, and they're not looking for an updated delineation from you to make any determinations on their end?
We have not. The coordination we've had so far is just with a wetland scientist giving us the direction that, like, yeah, the work that you're proposing is within the allowed use criteria. We have not reviewed this with the state wetland department yet.
Okay.
But we intend to.
So might I suggest that we not close this tonight and you do that, and next time we get together you can tell us what you learned.
Does the state from time to time accept a desktop delineation?
They do.
Okay. So there is a possibility that they'll say, oh yeah, we agree with your interpretation that a field delineation. I just reread the rest of the section in the LDR, and it doesn't specifically say that you need to do a field delineation. It just says you need to have a delineation, and if it's approved by the A&R, then the DRB may defer to that approval.
Yeah, yes, that's how I was reading it as well. So I think Chris, it sounds like you guys, again, are engaged with your consultant, but you're planning to engage with the state program as well. So to Don's point, if that's something you guys can do between now and the next time we see you and they sign off on the desktop delineation, then that would be appropriate for us, I think.
Is the additional fill for the sidewalk actually an allowed use? I don't believe it.
Charlie, speak up or
Sorry.
turn.
Is additional fill for the sidewalk an allowed use?
Sorry, that area, we were very confident that
That's going to be outside of Class 2 wetlands.
that's outside of Class 2 wetlands, because we did a delineation there and didn't find anything.
It's just I'm noticing a
But we didn't.
valley, right? Where
But so when we, back in 2021, when we did the delineation for the campus,
yeah.
we did look at this area specifically, but we didn't delineate things to the west because we didn't own this property at the time. So we didn't go over that far. We didn't know we would ever be doing work over here. So it stops like right there, but we did delineate that area. And I did provide a map in the drawing, but that shows, I did provide the report that's current, that does show the area that we did do a delineation within, and that is within it. It's the part to the west where we're just putting in trees, planting grass, removing boulders, cleaning up the wetland buffer. We're not even going into the wetland.
Completely agree with you on the top of slope improvements there,
Yeah.
right? I'm thinking about this one specific area. Prior to your master plan development of this area, right? Right now, there aren't curbs. There isn't this defined infrastructure built out currently, right?
This is all built out to the right. That curb, that road, that's all built out.
Okay. So then
The sidewalk is not.
the stormwater that's collected on the road is discharged in a different location. It doesn't go down into that valley. So you've essentially cut off the source for wetland. Okay. I feel more confident.
Okay, thank you. Number 13, the proposed plantings do not qualify for modification. Staff recommends the board require the applicant to revise the plan so that the proposed landscaping is outside the wetland buffer.
So this is separate from the wetland delineation issue, just to point of clarification. So using the 50-foot offset that we have from the desktop analysis, there is a section of trees that we have bubbled on internal drawings. It looks like that kind of bubbling didn't make this plan, so I apologize that we have to kind of interpret it. But the area of lawn hatch that you see is essentially, you know, how we plan to amend the gravel parking lot within the fence line. So the kind of northern border of that hatch is a fence. Beyond that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 trees outside of the fence within the currently delineated wetland buffer that are essentially still on the flat part of that plateau of fill. So, you know, this is where we would really like some trees kind of move. You know, they're native species. I think Brock Fryer, you know, spoke to the idea that they're an improvement over existing conditions. It would be possible to move them within the fence line, certainly, assuming that the fence line is at that, you know, outside of the buffer as it needs to be. But we have dragged our feet a little on it because it would be really great to get some trees in there. So, you know, that's sort of the spirit. The spirit of the gesture is that those are not planted on the slope. They're planted on kind of the same character of, you know, flat fill condition as everything else. They just happen to fall within that delineation, but they are native species. So sort of present that as the paradigm that we're working in. In other jurisdictions, we have planted native species in the wetland buffer. I know that I've done it. I can't tell you why I was allowed to in the past, but, you know, it sort of passes the precedent test in other areas of the state. So.
What are the size trees? I'm going back and forth. I see the QRs like 4 to 4.5 caliber.
Yep. So that's a mix of kind of, you know, full-size canopy trees, the QR, the OV and CC are, let's see if I can do it fast, hop hornbeam and Pinus caroliniana, can never pull, musclewood, understory trees. So essentially that, you know, that's just a little gesture of sort of native deciduous trees interspersed with the sort of native arborvitae. Arborvitae is native. You know, Brock did call out that we have used a cultivar. In the purest sense, the wetland folks like you to not use cultivars. We would be happy to make that change. But essentially that's, you know, just a palette of native trees that currently fill kind of a weird gap. Like when you're out there looking toward the wetland, there's just a big swath of no trees. And, you know, we're trying to sort of create a little bit more of a sense of enclosure, just because of the character of the space. So.
My question is going to come to I think the QR one is the red oak, right? And if you go along that entire rim, basically, right? Mm-hmm. There's trees that topple over, right? Because the bank can't support the larger tree weight. You feel the representation here, we're not going to be 10 years down the road and that red oak is somehow going to get blown over and it's just going to...
No. If anything, the root systems of those trees are going to reinforce the edge of that slope. The existing tree that we're trying to keep, although it really needs a haircut, the one with the solid circle there is an existing red oak. So it essentially, that was sort of an attempt to give it a couple friends to support its flourishing. It's currently not flourishing, but we want to try to keep it anyway.
So the board's options for allowing modification are written immediately above comment number 13. Can I ask a hopeful question? Who's Brock?
Referred to,
Brock Fryer is a wetland scientist who works for Stantec.
That's the right answer because number B3 is a reason the board may allow modification. If the applicant submits an evidence-based professional opinion by a wetland scientist that the redevelopment will have a net positive effect on the health and functioning of the wetland.
Yes, we appear to have gotten one of those. I have not met Brock. That was Chris.
He used to work for DC.
Write a statement.
Yeah, he has a written statement. We have provided a written statement in the packet.
Yeah, sorry. I assumed you were looking at it because my cheat sheet has it on. So.
Oh, no. Yeah, we don't have it.
Sorry.
So we're all good. All right. Thank you for keeping that oak, that red oak. Let's move on to number 14. So this is about the playground, and seems like the recommendation from the staff is to classify the area as a playground area within the perimeter of the fence.
Yes, please.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, previously it was just diagrammatic to say, hey, there's a playground area here. We've turned all that stuff off just to avoid confusion.
We've had issues on other schools and childcare properties where they kind of had to come in every time they wanted to change out a swing set.
Right.
It was
Right.
very silly.
Yep.
So we're trying to avoid that situation here.
Good. All right, on to discussing bicycle parking and storage. Number 15, staff recommends the board discuss how much of the existing building is planned for replacement to determine if the long-term bicycle parking standards apply.
If you go to, actually, this is not a bad one. Everything in white, and Joel, please correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, but all the beams and studs that are there today are staying, but they're going to get further reinforcement.
Right. So yeah, the existing white L that you see there is a metal frame building. So technically there are no weight-bearing walls in the building. It's all structural frame. We're taking the exterior walls and the roof sheathing down to the structural frame and then rebuilding it back with a new insulated, better wall system. But we're staying within the footprint of the existing building.
So it's not possible to determine what percent of all load-bearing walls?
Correct, because there are no load-bearing walls.
Okay. So are we good?
So yeah, that checks that box that we're less than the 50%. And then the other piece is, are we less than 5,000 square feet in addition? And we're like 3,000 something with the storage area, the greenhouse, and a little bump out on the top right. With all that being said, we do have a bike storage spot on the plan on the bottom left. And that'll be intended for staff to store their bikes if they need to.
Okay. Pardon me. Number 16, when the applicant revises the plans to propose an alternative to the currently prohibited parking configuration, pardon me, and if that revision creates a parking area subject to these criteria, the applicable landscaping standards must be reviewed at that time.
So those standards are like if you have more than 5 spaces, you have to have 1 shade tree for every 5 spaces. And if you have more than 20 spaces, it has to be 10% interior landscaping and that sort of thing.
So that's something that we'll determine later on.
If needed, right? If they actually have the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 17, staff recommends the board require the applicant to respond to the above comments of the Deputy Director of Water Resources.
We have, and we've provided that coordination with him, but just to give everyone an update, there's a bioretention basin on the bottom of the page. Pretty much most of the stormwater, even from the existing building, gets treated there and then discharges to the structure on Calkins Court that then discharges to the city system. And and the city knows that structure is in disrepair because it's about 40, 50 years old. So we are replacing that structure in the street on Calkins Court because otherwise we'd have a hard time coring into it.
Has the Deputy Director of Water Resources responded to your comments?
Yes, and we responded to his comments, and then he
Right.
gave us an email confirmation that we have appropriately addressed his comments.
Perfect. Thank you. Number 18, staff recommends the board ask the applicant to provide a detail or example of the proposed fence or gates prior to closing the hearing. Do we have that yet?
Page 11 in the materials we provided today would show you what gates we're proposing. There's actually only 2 locations we're proposing gates. One is off of Calkins Court, and that's really an emergency access or a utilitarian access. So you can pull in a truck to put down some play equipment or do something else. I don't know, but that's the double gate over off of Calkins Court, and then to get into the facility, there's that, or to get into the lawn area, there's another gate, the one on the bottom left.
Okay, thank you. On the site plan, it appears the retaining wall is located approximately 2/3 on the subject property and 1/3 on Williston Road. If the site plan is, if the site plan is correct, staff considers the applicant will likely need to make significant modifications to the design of the project in order to meet this criterion. Which is it?
The wall is gone, and we did make those significant changes to correct that.
Thank you. Okay, number 20, the retaining wall cannot be redesigned, but it's gone, you're saying? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
21, staff recommends the board include this criteria as a condition of approval. Yeah, okay. So that is it for this staff report. Let's take a pause and see if there's any public comment. Are you here to comment?
I drew some of this stuff.
Oh, okay, good. Well, well done, well done. Are there any people online who want to comment? No. Okay. So I think we're going to leave this open. And for the next project that we'll be reviewing tonight, is it the same cast of characters?
Yep, same folks,
Um,
same project, similar.
do we need to swear them in again for a separate project? Or are they
You
good?
sure do.
Okay. All right, let me just a minute to find it here. Okay. Okay. Site plan application SP 2603 of Beta Technologies, Inc. to amend a previously approved plan for property developed, pardon me, with a 30,600 square foot mixed-use building within an existing approved master plan. The amendment consists of adding sidewalk, crosswalk, pardon me, and parking to support a proposed childcare facility on the adjacent property at 3060 Williston Road. We know who's here, but I want to swear you in for this, this project. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, number one. So the traffic study doesn't support the two-way traffic. And there's a bunch of comments, and then it ends with, staff recommends the board direct the applicant to retain the landscaping island and directionality of the connection and proceed without a traffic study or master plan amendment.
Yeah, so before we start, maybe give some context, right? And then it sounds like you made a change to what was presented.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Charlie.
correct. We were proposing to make it two-way, maybe a little too hastily, and we're actually looking at another master plan amendment coming before you soon that talks about how that gets removed, and that is going to be accompanied by a very robust traffic study that will look into all of that stuff. But the timing wouldn't work out in a way that would be in parallel with this project, unfortunately. So for now, we're going to leave it in while this project is built.
Okay. Thank you. Pardon me. Number two. We need the lot coverage updated, please.
Yes, yeah, we took out the previous I had accidentally left the previous childcare in there, and now I've taken that out and provided the updated calcs to staff.
Okay, thank you. Number 3, this is regarding the sidewalk and the crosswalk. Staff recommends the board use a similar approach to this sidewalk and crosswalk and discuss whether to permit it to be constructed simply by issuance of a zoning permit and under what timeline.
This one this one I might need a little more context for. Is there any clarification from staff on?
Sorry, I'm catching up from the last one. Give me a second.
That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I think there was some black text in this one that got washed out that I don't have in front of me right here, but it's
Alex,
in
can
the
you
staff
pull
notes.
up page 6 of the packet? The handout, not the handout, the packet. Nope, the 6A. Yep, page 6, please.
I think you want page
Oh.
7.
7, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You're right.
It's the painted crosswalk in the road, I think is what you're getting at, right?
Right, so this refers to the crosswalk and sidewalk that's shown on your plans as dashed, like sidewalk reserved for future crosswalk and future connector sidewalks. Can you flip over to the plans, Alex? The other plans. The plans that were in the packet. There we go. So the dashed lines on the right, and then the lighter, the gray crosswalk.
We took your comment as that you wanted us to include that in our packet or include that in our design, and we agreed with that.
So include it in this site plan, or just have it as an application for a zoning permit later?
We thought it would be more efficient to just get it approved now, but
Right. So, but you can't have a crosswalk when there's nothing to cross. So, yeah, let me step back. What is the site condition in this area today? Is it just grass? Is it paved?
can you highlight where you're talking about, like with the crosswalk there?
Not that one, the one that goes up, down.
That is paved. That is a paved, constructed parking lot.
Got it. Okay. Then I retract the comment altogether. You should include it in this project.
Okay.
So I thought, remember there's a parking area that wasn't
Yeah.
constructed originally?
South. There.
Oh, okay, I thought that
Gotcha.
was this.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I thought you were saying, well, we can't construct it because there's nothing to build it on top of.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
And there's a loading dock that's active that we couldn't put a parking lot behind, and just would like to, but
Okay, so this parking area where Alex's cursor is now exists.
yes.
And
that
so
exists.
instead of calling that a future, you're just going to build
build
it.
that. Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone? Peanut gallery?
Yes, I agree with
Peanut gallery. We're the board, not the peanut gallery. All right, number 4. This is regarding direct pedestrian connection to the entrance. The suggestion is that the board require the applicant to relocate the crosswalk between the site and the east side of the Valley Road to within the existing landscape island, which would also have the effect of reducing pedestrian crossing distance.
Alex, can you go to page 2 of the revised materials, please? Maybe page 3. I'm sorry. This is this the right one? You know what? I think it's just so light you can't see the contours. Can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, the contours are just too light to see. But essentially, what happens here is after you go past this crosswalk, it goes into a dip, and it starts to increase. It's basically a flat area up top, right where that crosswalk is. It's about 2%. And as you go further up the page, if you're driving a car, it then becomes 6%, 7%, and then down into a low spot. So right where the suggested crossing is, there are some really warped grades. So we'd have if you're going to cross at that point, you're going to have a sidewalk that's at like a 6% cross slope. So you're standing on a 6% cross slope to go there. And then once you get across there, you're actually traversing up like a 2-on-1 slope. The place where we selected has a couple added benefits. One, it's 2%, so it's nice and flat. It's also up at level with the building entry. So you cross over, if it's an ADA access point, it's just a level entrance right into the building, rather than we'd have to build in like a ADA ramp if we were to put it at that crossing. So we thought it was a good logical location, and we also think adding this sidewalk kind of helps solve that a little bit, and also noticing that the goal at some point is to make this a two-way road in the master plan. Then we would just kind of be back to what the situation is going to be eventually.
I completely hear your argument. The only question I would ask is, have you considered that real humans will be using this, and humans take the shortest path possible?
I think I do agree with that, other than it is a 2-on-1 slope, and I believe there is some landscaping. There is some landscaping that would at least somewhat prohibit people from wanting to climb up that hill.
Yeah, we've tried to gently guide people away from that option. It happens at Beta already. We know them. So there's some low growth sumac in that rectangle with the kind of zigzaggy edge that is meant to say, you will trip and hurt yourself. Please do not try this. So, no.
Okay. Pardon me. Number 5, this is regarding converting the Valley Road to two-way road, which you've taken off the table.
We're not doing that.
Thank you. Number 6, landscaping budget. Staff recommends the board require the applicant to provide an updated computation of landscaping budget for SD 2128 and include it in the record for this application.
Yeah, so we kind of we had a light bulb moment understanding what you had meant today, Marla, that we are actually taking Abrevite from the BTV site that has an approved budget that supports their current building, and we're actually able to draw from that budget. We are now taking those trees and moving them to another property. So what we understood that to be is that Marla would like to see, her staff would like to see, a revised budget estimate or landscape budget estimate that actually takes the landscaping out of the SD 2128 site plan and either applies it to this site or just disappears. Yes. And that's what we've done. We've updated the landscape estimate to reflect that.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end of the staff comments.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead, Charlie.
So with the removal of the street modification, right? This application is we're putting in a sidewalk and a couple crosswalks.
Correct.
And 2/3 of 5 parking spaces.
2/3 of parking, yeah. 1/3.
Okay. Well, okay. So, I'm sorry. Which one is the parking space that?
The property line goes through the parking spaces.
Oh my goodness! Oh right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I accidentally moved it. I'm sorry. I can move it on my computer. I didn't mean to.
So let's take a pause. Well, before we ask for public comment, are there any other questions from the board? Quinn, Charlie?
Okay, then technically the parking is not resolved, right?
Okay.
So what are we going to do for parking?
Well, so the two options that the applicant said that they could consider are redesigning the parking so that it's to the side of the building relative to Valley Road, or accepting a condition to remove the parking and do a later amendment to put it to the side of the building.
The number of spots that are depicted on the plan are selected because of why?
Yeah, it would be to accommodate staff and then parent drop off is the thinking there.
And the spots across the road that are on Beta property, my understanding from the previous application was that there's not today, the previous daycares, there's enough parking area over there to accommodate this child care facility based on the travel counts, right? Daily traffic counts.
Yeah, we're pretty flooded over there with parking. Believe it or not, we started to fill it all up. But
What I'm trying to get at is if we eliminate all the parking on the
Yep.
site plan, right? Where do people park? What you're saying is you need these spots for the staff and for the ADA.
and you're looking at this site alone.
It's up to you whether you want to broach this, but I think that is a halfway decent segue into talking about the bigger picture. I know that wasn't something you were planning to talk about tonight, but I'm sure you're all aware that Beta is continuing to grow in many ways, and we've had a bunch of conversations with them about what that looks like. The short-term plan is consistent with this master plan, and you'll be seeing a application at your next meeting. It's already been submitted to make some minor modifications to accommodate their next year and a half.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Year and
At
a
that time, they're planning on presenting to you sort of a bigger, like the immediate short-term plan and then like the 10-year plan, and that really talks about how parking needs are addressed and how this project's going to evolve over time. But what I think Alex is holding back from saying is that they are already, I drive by this site from time to time, and they are already up against the parking that they have. So I think that every parking space that they lose is a challenge.
Right.
But 6 parking spaces doesn't make or break the project.
Yeah, I think you sort of summarized that well. We're growing quite a bit as a company, right? It's again part of why we want to have a child care facility is just to allow for that growth. And so we're taking a look at the master plan. You're going to see in a couple weeks master plan that reflects some of that growth. But really to stay here in Vermont and to grow in Vermont, we need to take a broader look at that master plan and make sure that we can accommodate all of the people and everything that we want to bring to this campus and to South Burlington, Vermont, right? So, yes, we need more parking, but I think we've got to deal with that in a much bigger way, and that's going to be addressed in a follow up to the master plan.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of, we have 2 open projects right now, having them comply currently with LDRs and then coming back with that larger plan, I think it's probably the most efficient.
Yep.
That way we don't need to sit here and figure out where to put your parking if it's not going to ultimately serve your purposes in the bigger scheme. So I would recommend do whatever it is that you need to do to conform with the LDRs now with these 2 projects, and then come back to us with the bigger plan, and we can adjust once we have that bigger picture. How does that? Yeah, go ahead.
The issue would be is that this property will never be part of the master plan, right? That's the whole point.
The other one, Calkins.
Right. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
when we're talking about parking for Calkins,
yeah.
it happens to be on this lot, right?
Well,
I'm
but
sorry.
we mentioned-
I'm
you
melding them
mentioned-
together at this point, right?
We did mention in the staff report, and I can reinforce this point. I want to reinforce this point here. Any amendment to the master plan does several of the master plan criteria speak to responding to the context, and so like any amendment to the master plan needs to respond to the context of this childcare building existing in the future amendments. So there'll be, if anybody else built something on Calkins Court, they would be still looking at that and how it affects the project.
If Beta wasn't developing this property, they wouldn't be connecting to Valley Road. They would be using their existing connection to Calkins, and then you wouldn't have to deal with parking.
Probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least the parking wouldn't be there. It would be somewhere else.
It would be off Calkins Road.
Yeah.
Or Calkins,
Yeah.
whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm. Fair point.
So at the next meeting, we're doing a master plan amendment.
You're going to be looking at a sketch plan.
Sketch plan. Yep.
To
For a
close,
whole new master plan?
No,
A revision. It's a revision to our
It's
current
just a
master
small
master plan.
modification to accommodate
Yeah.
some small evolution of the plan.
To close both of these site plans, I think what we're saying is we cannot allow head-in parking. So what do you want to do, right?
I mean, I think for us, we would rather deal with this at a later date if that's what it's coming down to, and I think that's what we spoke to earlier. If this is the last thing to talk about, then we will
Leave
just
it open, push it
leave
to the
it
next
open.
meeting,
Exactly.
Bring some context to the master plan we're discussing.
Yes, push it to the next meeting, which is the master plan sketch plan. Yes, or really, it's a follow up to that. Actually, the sketch plan doesn't really address this. It'll be a follow up to that that meeting. But yeah, no, we're comfortable getting rid of this parking right now if that's sort of the only hold up and dealing with that with the next phase of planning here.
I think with the one exception, maybe the ADA space. I have to do some regulation searching, but I feel like I have to keep that just because there's not an ADA space within, I don't know, a long distance from here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's
Well,
the
the
only one
LDR
that I'm
doesn't
thinking
allow
about.
exceptions for ADA
For ADA.
parking
That's why,
spaces to the
yeah.
front. Yeah.
And then maybe leave the sidewalk in to kind of maintain that connection, but remove the 5 spaces.
Yeah.
How does a vehicle? What's that? Sorry, the entry plaza is a pedestrian plaza, right?
Mhm.
So there's no vehicle access to the building except for these spots.
Yeah, and then you have the adjacent spots that are sort of across the street on Valley Road. Yeah, there's a bunch of parking on the right
So
there.
you have signs that say beta employees with kids can only park here.
Oh, you can get through it. Where's the fire hydrant?
It's on Calkins Court. You can actually see it if you zoom in on.
No, wrong way. Other way.
Yeah, by the circle.
To the left. Yeah, there it is. W, and then it's like a little, pops out right there.
Fine. Not blocking access that way, so you should be fine.
So are we suggesting that we keep these
We're
open?
gonna leave it open. I think they need to present a plan that shows the ADA spots, at least, right?
Can we leave just?
I was going to say, would the board be comfortable with a condition that says remove the 5 non-ADA spaces and keep everything else? And
Provide parallel parking ADA spaces. Right?
Can you do that?
You can,
I guess you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the area of the removed parking that isn't the parallel parking would be lawn.
Yep.
I mean, I suppose if you can fit an ADA parallel space and however many other parallel spaces would be okay too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Sure.
So is there room at the next meeting for their master plan, sketch plan, and to talk about this too?
I think we're saying we can condition, we can condition
We
the
could,
parking
okay,
spots, so then we can close this.
okay, both of them.
I think we can definitely close the current one we're discussing, right? Which is the original, the beta property, right? Or the master plan property.
Okay,
Yeah, I think if we can do the parallel ADA spot and whatever other spots we can fit in that space, that would be our preference. Yep.
Just to
Okay.
make the condition specific, if there's 6 spaces plus the striped area, that's 7 times 8, which is 56, right? Yes, which is 2 parallel parking spaces.
Yeah, we'll get like 3 out of it.
Right.
You will?
There are two regular and 1 ADA is what you're thinking?
Well, if a regular is 22 feet long, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but we have all that.
The space down on the page or something.
Yeah, we have that space down on the page too, but
Yeah.
it
And your
could be
curves
2
have
or
to
3.
change for parallel parking.
Yeah.
So.
But I think the length still stays 22. It's just the width
Yeah.
is deeper.
The width of, I think you're right, right? I think it's 2.5 to 1 parallel, right? So I think you only can get 2 cars unless you have to change the curvature of the entry, right? Which might
Oh, you're right.
elongate it right?
Oh, and they're
I don't
9
think
foot
you
wide
would,
spaces,
but
not 8 foot wide
it's from,
spaces.
like,
So 9 times
The
Oh.
ADA
7
code would
is
say you need an ADA spot to have an ADA
63,
access
which
route
is
to the spot.
practically 3 anyway.
We can
so
add
yeah.
Yeah, I think
We can-
I wouldn't
we
mind
can
just
also-
having.
we
So
can also
2
add-
regular and
Why
1
don't we just go
ADA.
to? I think I'd rather not overcommit on a parking plan for that area. Provide the ADA spot and then a drop off spot. Let's leave it at that.
That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah.
In and out. 15
Okay.
minute
Yeah.
So I've lost track. Have we haven't taken any public comment.
We have not. Yeah,
On
I
this
guess
one?
I just want to.
On this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any public comment to be given?
Nice.
Hearing none, I will circle back and entertain a motion to,
Move to close SP 20. Oh, I don't want to close that one. 2603.
Second.
okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
I
Any opposed? No. Okay, we have closed that hearing. Now let's go back to the first hearing.
Yeah. Can we actually pull up the landscaping plan? I have a question now because we aren't eliminating the bump out.
So we're going back to SP 2604.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we scoot back over to that bump out? Because this plan has looked a lot of different ways in the last couple of weeks, you guys. Is your question, what is the landscape treatment of the bump out now?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, actually, that'd be great
Mhm.
if you want to talk about that. There's a bench there. And I'm wondering, was that included because there was a bump out, or is that included?
The only benches that I recall in that drawing, again, page 3, are provided on the entry plaza. But let me check.
I just see bench.
My
typical.
teeny,
I don't
teeny,
actually see
tiny.
the bench there, but I was just making sure.
Oh, you mean it's possible we got to call out? We scrambled to call out. I see what you're looking at. Yep. That probably should have said existing evergreen to remain. Good
Oh, nice.
catch.
Okay. There you go.
Yes, I do promise.
And like, it'd be cool to sit right by this edge of the road, right? But
Right. Cool for whom, right? No, the benches are associated with the entry plaza.
Okay. So, did you want to discuss anything else?
no, that was it. I was.
So
Okay.
the
Place to
revised
sit.
plan that was part of the handouts today does not have a bench there.
Okay.
Is that
It
correct?
still is. Zoom in a little bit. Zoom in. Zoom in. Zoom in. Just north of the crosswalk, it says bench typical. And it's pointing to a tree. I think it's supposed to say existing evergreen.
Yeah, it looks like a drawing error. Yeah.
It's in my walking circuit, so I thought.
Okay. So, if I recall, there are a number of things that we need from you before we close this.
I thought there was one.
Okay.
I think we were just leaving it. It was the parking.
Yeah, that's
Just
the one.
parking. Okay.
They've given us a lot of stuff that in the handout. So
Okay.
we'll verify everything that that everything they said is in there, but
That's good then.
they haven't screwed it up yet. So I'm comfortable that you can close. Okay,
Okay. Just want to make sure
Chris, did you have
resolve
something?
the two-way road,
There's comments from the DPW.
landscaping
director,
budget. Okay.
Pat, and-
So, I would entertain a motion.
The one thing that you had forgotten to mention, but I think this can be conditioned because it's not going to have any. I think you've agreed to the fact that we can put trees in that landscape in the wetland buffer,
Right.
but there has to be a condition that we provide a wetland, a
Written verification.
written verification from Natural Resources that
Right.
we did. There's a wetland there, and we're within
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we will provide that in the next
Great.
couple weeks.
Thank you. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to close SP 2604.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of closing? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, great. Thank you for hanging in there with
Yeah, I
us.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for getting through this with us.
We'll
We're
see you
excited
for
to
the
get
next
this one going.
6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, get used to these faces.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a
We'll
question.
see you on March 3rd.
Now
We'll see you on
that's
March
clear.
17th.
Is the past application part of this new master plan discussion you're having? Right, where the childcare was going to be?
I can clarify that a little
Yeah.
bit. We'll get into it in more detail. that building actually was permitted as a commercial building.
Yeah.
And as under the master plan, we did do traffic counts, assuming it was going to be childcare, but it's actually in the decision referred to as a commercial building. So at this point, we don't really know if it's going to maintain a commercial building, but in our plans over the next year and a half, it will stay a commercial building.
I was when we saw this come in, I was like, well, they tore down the building on the lot, right?
Yeah.
I guess we're just not building anything anymore, right? And I was really excited for that entrance to be closed and all sorts of things. It's okay.
But the current master plan amendment doesn't propose any changes to the approved master plan in the area of the.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's just making two buildings bigger is essentially what the primary objective of that, where all the other stuff stays the same for now.
Okay, big project. Beta is growing.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Right. Okay. The minutes. From February 3rd.
I move to approve the minutes of February 3rd, 2025.
Second.
I would entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Any other business?
Plan on a full night next time.
So, Quinn, I will be away, and I could zoom in, except a lot of the hearing will be habitat, and I'm recused from that anyways. Are you planning to be at the next meeting?
Yeah, I was planning to attend virtually again so we can talk offline outside of a meeting.
Okay, all right. Thank you. If you're offline, do you think if you're online, could you chair the meeting? Or would you rather not?
Why don't you and Quinn talk?
Yeah, I think
about
we
the
should.
minutes?
Yeah, just talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Clerk's problem.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Okay. Are you closing the meeting?
yes, the meeting is adjourned.
Okay. Thank you. We will end the Zoom.
So I'll talk to Quinn and